All right. Hey, everybody. This is Brittany here at Surfing Waves of Light. And today I felt inspired to start a series that I am calling Synchronicity Stories. And today my inspiration has come in conjunction with an opportunity that I've just received to be a guest channeler at Louise Spalding's next retreat, her March equinox retreat. So I'm very excited, and I thought as a part of this opportunity, in case any beings were interested, I could tell a little bit about my story with Tina's work to help you understand how my journey has gone on a deeper level with Tina. So, okay. So my journey with Tina starts in a hotel room in Kenya, in Nairobi, Kenya. So, I was in New Zealand visiting a friend, and I was reading Spirit of the Western Way, which my uncle gave to me. And I read it while I was in New Zealand, and I started having some different experiences. Now, I like to say that often when I travel to foreign countries, I will pick up on the subtle energies of that country, and I tend to have these sort of experiences anyway, but looking back, I feel that they were really in conjunction with her work. So I left New Zealand, and I took 4 flights to go to, not India, I went to India though too, to go to Nairobi, Kenya. So I'm in Nairobi, Kenya with my uncle. And this is around the time that Tina first started channeling extraterrestrials. And in New Zealand, I was having extraterrestrial-like experiences. So, which was crazy and a synchronicity, but everything is a synchronicity in my life, and it basically runs my life now because they just work so perfectly. So I just remember I go to Kenya to visit my cousin Jessie, who's studying abroad there, and my uncle Chris, who knew about Tina's work first and introduced me to Tina's work, was there visiting her as well. We both like to travel the world, and he was in Bali and I was in New Zealand, and we decided to link up in Kenya because Jessie was there, and we thought, why not? So we did, and we met up in Kenya, and we had this wonderful experience together. We went on multiple safaris, and we're in our hotel room, and he's like, hey, I want to introduce you to this person who I've been listening to for a while. I was reading her book, Spirit of the Western Way, and I said, yeah, I'd love to hear her channel. And he played a video of Tina. This has got to be 2016, 2017, channeling an extraterrestrial and channeling Jesus. And honestly, of course, if someone said, I'm going to channel Jesus or an extraterrestrial, I'm going to think you're crazy. But what happened for me was that the message resonated so deeply in my heart. It was like someone finally told me the things that my inner guidance had been telling me, but I didn't know that that's what it was at the time. It literally just felt so right. All the information that Tina said, it just felt so right. And so I didn't really care if it was coming from Jesus, an extraterrestrial, a priest. I could care less. It's just that finally this confusing, foggy atmosphere that I had around religion and spirituality and my connection to my higher self, it was starting to clear. And so over like the next 6 months, I was completely consumed by her work. I would listen to her videos, all her free videos on YouTube. I joined her channeling community, and I started listening to her bi-monthly live channelings, and I started to use her basically as a Google. And when I had a question about something, I would look for information, or I would just cross-reference it. I would use her work. I would use the work I was learning about with energy healing. I would use books that I had come across to just sort of see, like, what is everyone saying about these different topics? And time again, either she was synchronistically lining up with other authors I was reading, or the way that it came through her was just so beautiful, and it was always loving. And that's something that I identified early on. Tina was never persuading me, or Jesus or Ananda or any of those beings were never persuading me to be anything but myself. The whole message was to learn my guidance and then to use that to go about my life. And at the time, I was a traveling nurse. I was living the dream. I'd worked in California. I was an emergency nurse, which I thought was cool at the time. I mean, still is cool, but I thought it was like super cool at the time. And, I was making lots of money and, life was good, but I also felt that there was this whole part of me missing, and nursing just didn't end up being what I expected it to be at all. I mean, I see so much value in nursing, but it was just so tough going into work. I always felt, it just felt hard, like after the first couple years, it was really exciting. And then, it just started to get hard and started to wear on me, and I had all these emotions and it was translating into my, traditional life. And so, so finding Tina was huge. So that summer I read all her books, and, I was pretty sad at the time too. My dad had been diagnosed with cancer, so I was going through that. I was having some like difficulties in my love life. And so I was just kind of down. It wasn't a great time. I was also in school. I was finishing up my master's in nursing education. So I had a lot of time where I wasn't working. I had a per diem job at the local hospital once I got back, and I just worked 4 days a month, and then I was in like 9 credits or something, which was a lot at the time. It was my last semester, but I had like pushed everything off because of my dad. So anyway, just painting the picture of where I was. But somehow in all that stuff that I had going on, because I really wasn't working much, I just read all her books. And I wasn't trying to read them so quickly, but I feel like I consumed them. And I think it took me from maybe June to October to read, I think, all 6 of her books. And and it just was, I just felt like a lot of questions I had were answered, a lot of things that I didn't understand about the world that I was being told but really didn't resonate. And I'm not saying that every single thing that anybody brings through is going to be 100% true for my experience, but I just understand that we each come from our own experience. And so, you can take anything, even the Course in Miracles says, like, you can take the book and you can take a line and you can take it out of context, or you can, like, it can trigger you to have a feeling, and that's okay. But if you just take something and its holistic value of what is being brought forth, and also words, this is something I'm learning more recently, words are just poor symbols for something else. So a word, each of us has a different interpretation and meaning to a word. And this happens a lot with the word Jesus or the word God. So anyway, back to my story, if I can remember exactly where I was. I blew through her books, and I felt better also. And I had started the course in July, but I was definitely one of those course students who did like a lesson a week or a lesson every couple of days, and I didn't understand it at all. And I felt like I should know, like, I don't know, I had this feeling like I do know this already, and I was really like, my ego was totally coming up, being like, oh, like, you don't need to do this. And at the same time, I did feel compelled to continue on. And so I ended up, it took me like a little less than 2 years, maybe like 17 months to complete the course once I got on schedule. But I had other stuff going on. And but anyway, so I stayed true to the course because I was always recommended, and I did it as best as I could. And even doing it not so well, it helped me tremendously. And that year, I mean, so many things. I can't tell you how many times Tina's messages have shifted something for me in my life. So I'll go on with my dad. So that year, my dad, in February, so summer, I blew through her books, started the course. In February, my dad passed. And I had for a long time searched for new meanings of death, as I had come from a religious background and had a Catholic understanding of death, mostly outside of my own experiences, not experiences with death, but just what else I had learned in my journey. And when my dad was passing, I read to him Great Minds Speak to You. And there was certain chapters that really talked about the death process. And my dad laughed, and he didn't believe it, but I didn't care because I knew it brought him comfort, and it brought me comfort. And I had already read the book, but it was just crazy how there were so many things in there that really helped me to translate my experiences that I was having as I was watching my dad go through the dying process. And I don't think I would have, I feel so strongly that no matter what, when you lose someone, it's going to be a difficult process. But I feel so strongly that having the course, having Tina's work, having Jesus and Ananda, knowing that I had guides and teachers who were like with me and weren't these like foreign objects out in the sky. They were like right here with me. Even if I didn't always feel them or I didn't always believe it, it just brought me so much comfort. And also all the interpretations of death that they share, like that I'd never heard before. It made my dad's entire process of dying easier for me. I was able to separate him from his body a bit. You know, his body was like not good looking at all. He had this gnarly tumor on his neck, and I was a nurse, so I've seen a lot of stuff like that, and I know it can even get worse, but he was so inflated and bloated, and he had this thing, I'm just going to tell you because it's funny. He had this thing while he was passing where his balls were like the size of grapefruits, and he kept telling us all, like, my balls are the size. This is like literally within, I think, 2 weeks of him dying. He was having this like lymphedema, and it was going into his testicles, and just a lot of funny stuff happened with that. But so it was just cool to even know that we are in our bodies, and it kind of disarmed me to my own father's body. And when I saw his testicles, because he had to show me, because that was something that he had to do, it was funny. And I've always found that following Tina's work and following these belief systems has made me not suffer. And that's one of my goals in life right now, is to not suffer. Because I thought we were supposed to suffer, but because of Tina's teachings, I know now that we're not, and we can all live. There's abundance for everyone, and we can all live happy, healthy, beautiful, amazing lives. So another way that Tina's work really connected with me was with her second book, Making Love to God. And that book, seriously, if my understanding of romance could have been painted by someone who sees energy fields, they literally would have seen these crazy ideas and beliefs all over about romance and love and partnership. It was completely a mess. I had no idea. I was following scripts from TV shows and movies and my Catholic upbringing of only having sex with one person and only one person, and it was just very intense, and a lot of like egoic things, a lot of fear and sorrow and joy too, but just, just not as pure, I guess, or you have all this other stuff going on. And so I read Making Love to God, and I felt like my entire field, just like romantically, with my ideas around romance, like started getting into alignment. And I felt so much better knowing that really romance at your partnership, who you choose to partner with, a big part of that is that they're just a reflection of you. And that was hard for me to understand. And logically, I understood it. It's hard to embody and practice. So logically, I could understand kind of. And at first, that concept was even foreign to me. But basically, I ended up surfing, like probably around the same time as I finished all her books. And I'm a surfer, so I surf a lot. But at this time, I was just getting back into it, and like more frequently, and really prioritizing it, because that's something I learned from Tina, like prioritize the things you love to do. And I was like, I love being in the ocean, and I love surfing. I spent 10 years as a lifeguard, and I had always wanted to like spend a lot of time in the water just trying to surf, get better at surfing. I really always loved it. I always got to watch the surfers when I sat on the stand, and I surfed a bit myself, but I would not have said I was a good surfer, or that I would say that I would want to teach people how to surf. It was just still a developing process for me. So I went surfing by myself one day, and I'm in the water, and it's like perfect waves, which is kind of rare in New Jersey. And I went to the spot that was kind of foreign. So it was like, I could have been like, oh, I'm too afraid, but I didn't, because I've the course and stuff. And I met this guy in the water, and he told me that he had dropped out of college to pursue surfboard shaping. And I know for a fact, as I was achieving my master's in college, that my old mindset said, oh, like, why would anyone drop out of college? That's like why wouldn't you just finish your degree? Because then it's like safe and you'll have a job or whatever. But after reading Tina's books, one of the things that she said, or Jesus and Ananda, I mean, it's just a co-creation. So he, she, I'm just referring to that beautiful bundle of energetic information that has shifted my life. So anyway, so we're in the water, and he tells me he dropped out of school to pursue surfboard shaping. And I thought that was really cool. I was like, oh, that's really cool, because one of the things Tina said was that passion in the day equals passion at night. And they're like, how can you expect for someone to have passion in the bedroom if what they're doing all day isn't like fulfilling their soul? And that made sense to me too. I was like, that made sense to me. So much sense. I was like, wow, I can start to understand some of my patterns around sexuality and my experiences, and why, these kinds of things like libido, why people have it or don't, all that stuff. But it just made sense. And I was like, oh, cool. And not that I was trying to date him, but I was like, oh, cool. Like, this dude, it sounds funny. And that's not why I was trying to hang out with him. I wasn't even trying, if you ask, and I'll tell that story another time. But I'm like, oh, this kid must have a good sex life, because he's doing what he loves. He's in passion. And he also he's a whole nother teacher of mine. And now we date. We've been dating for over 2 years. And we're doing all sorts of cool things together. But if I hadn't read Tina's books, I would have written him off. And I would have said, he might not be like at my level of education. And I'm not saying that's how I primarily think, because if you meet me in person, I'm super nice. And I am, like, I'm loving and I want the best for everyone. But there's still these voices that exist. And you think you got them under control until you get triggered. And those are the voices that you're working on. So there would have been a little voice, like a little devil on my shoulder being like, oh, well, he doesn't have a proper education. But that wasn't true. I mean, education comes in all forms. So yeah, and even to go like 3.5 years to college and not finish, like that and alone, I could have been like, really? Like, that doesn't seem smart. Why wouldn't you already have debt? Like, whatever. So I'm just cluing you into some of the little voices that I've found, looked at, and hopefully healed. But yeah, so Tina, her books helped me meet my current love partner, who I'm like obsessed with. We have an amazing life, and we're more than just romantic partners. We're like business partners and healing partners. And if you think I'm cool, definitely meet Greg, because he's like a whole nother cool, whatever that word cool means. He's just somebody you might want to be around for sure. And he's taught me so much about creation. But I want to focus on Tina, and I can easily get sidetracked. But basically, Tina's books and her retreats, I started going on her retreats. After my dad passed, I started going on her retreats. And all the people I've met, being a part of her community now, it's growing so rapidly. It's been a life changer. And when things have happened this year with COVID, and I felt like I was the only one who felt like the things that were happening were a little overstepping and taking away freedoms, and not a lot of people around me agreed with me. It was nice to know that there was other people in the world that existed that did see things through a different lens, and, in a non-judgmental way. Even if we didn't see things through the exact same lens, it was just nice to have those people. So I'm sure there's going to be more videos about how Tina Louise Spalding's work has changed my life, especially the videos that she channeled of Jesus doing the course. I'll do a whole video on that, because that would take me a little while now, and it's already almost 20 minutes. But yeah, so basically, for any of you out there who have just met me, or like are now knowing me because of Tina's retreat, I just wanted to share a video about how Tina's work has influenced my life. And she's just one of my teachers. I've also met tons of beings since then who have been my teachers. And when you open yourself up to the unusual, or the far out, the paranormal, the supernormal, you're opening your mind to believing that more is possible than is what is being presented to you. And it's a valuable tool. So Thank you so much for listening to this video about my synchronicity stories around how Tina Louise Spalding's work has literally transformed my life. So, love you all. Thanks for listening. Pow!